Hey everyone, my name is Laura Becker. I was in the documentary. My hair was looking a little messed up at the time. I had dyed it, too many home dyes, pink. So some of you may know me from Twitter, Funk God Artist. And I designed some of the detrans awareness hats and shirts that some people might be wearing. So that's what you may know me from. Yeah, so I think that this documentary definitely would have impacted my perceptions, because although I was had a lot of magical thinking, was naive, very stubborn, I was also very overwhelmed. And we all sort of know the kind of common wisdom, kids need structure. Everyone needs structure. We need to order chaos, because things are very overwhelming. And I was overwhelmed. That's a lot of what the passive suicidal ideation is just being overwhelmed, and your brain goes to this solution, this fantasy solution of escape, so it can deal with it at that moment. And transition is very similar, the transition fantasy. So I think I really was hungering. For a long time, I was hungering to be helped, actually. I was very alone, and from peers and family, and I really wanted a safe adult to really sit down with me and listen to everything and tell me that they knew how to help. Not in a pushy way or in a controlling way, but in a way that allowed me to feel like myself. And I just never really got that, because my parents by the point when I was 19, when I transitioned, they were exhausted, and they were not very equipped to deal with it. And there was some abuse as well to me, psychologically. And so they just they did emotionally sort of give up. And because I was so stubborn, they said, okay. And the thing is, you just kind of get used to people not seemingly really understanding you, Teachers didn't understand. Therapists, just low quality, shallow understanding. And so they'll say, yeah, you're valid, or like, sure, you can, are you sure you want to do it? Yeah, okay. Maybe it'll help because you're already so fucked up. You're already so mentally ill anyway. So they were very desperate too, my parents. But I was suicidal and had unprocessed trauma, PTSD. So definitely keeping that connection. I know it's very difficult, but still listening and still being there and not giving up is this inevitable, outcome that this person is just going to be messed up and they're disabled and they're mentally ill and that's their identity. And, trying not to see your child as broken. So I saw myself as a broken human being that didn't deserve love, or was capable of achieving happiness. So of course you're going to go to desperate measures like surgical interventions. So I would say this documentary would have really been a relief to me, because it just provided so many calming, intelligent, rational adults that are experts in the field. They know what they're talking about. It just would have relieved my existential anxiety and overwhelm to know that there is an alternative, because I thought that there wasn't. I thought it was either I'm inevitably going to kill myself and I don't want to live anymore as myself, or if I transition, maybe that'll help. I'm doubtful about it. I'm pretty hopeless. Maybe it'll help. I didn't realize until several years too late. I mean, too late in a short-term sense. for the surgery and to hormones, that there were alternative pathways. And so I have been able to cure my gender dysphoria and treat my suicidal ideation and PTSD. Still working on that one. That one takes some time. But yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add on to the idea of boundaries is just, you know, what I often tell parents is, you know, this isn't palatable to hear, but the reality is that whether you tiptoe around, I've known parents that tiptoe around every little thing and they're walking on eggshells all of the time, and it's extremely stressful. And I know parents who just get right up in there and take charge and say, no, I'm the parent and I'm doing this. And I've known both sort of methods being taken, and, you know, it is up to the individual parenting style and the relationship you have with the child. But the reality is that, as Lucas said, pushing back against authority and against parental wisdom is natural, normal, and even healthy, and can be an opportunity to further develop the relationship, because a child needs to learn how to manage their emotions. They need to learn how to take no for an answer. They need to learn how to look critically at other people's perspectives. And so it's very difficult, but repair is the other side to, you know, preserving a relationship. There will be conflicts, sometimes severe conflicts, and damage will be done to the relationship. And so I think a lot of parents are focused so much on not damaging the relationship, which is understandable. But once it is damaged, I think that's when a lot of people might get into a really worse situation than if they had focused more on just the long run. You know, each little incident or confrontation is a smaller battle in a longer war, a war of preserving the relationship and having just a healthy life for everyone involved. I think focusing on how do you repair, learning how to repair with your child is going to be critical, because it might be a very long periods of time where they're processing things. And if you act, you know, resentfully towards them, or bitter, or start punishing them overly, criticizing them, you know, this is a more severe version of what may happen. But I had a parent who would verbally abuse me and gaslight me about it. And, you know, I understand that they were angry and they, you know, were emotionally dysregulated. And, you know, that shouldn't have happened. But once it did happen, there was another opportunity there. The real work could have lied in the repair, that they had an opportunity to repair the relationship and further understand my perspective. But instead of doing that, they would gaslight me about it and say that it was my fault, and say that that never happened and that they did nothing wrong. And in fact, I was, you know, punishing them or being a bitch to them, you know. So it was like very manipulative, that really damaged me, to feel it was all my fault, no matter what I did. Any emotion I had was unacceptable. And so whether it's arising to the level of like verbal abuse or just, it's a spectrum, you know, of behaviors. But being able to repair and to acknowledge, you know, I understand, you know, that this is painful for you, and not adding a but into it, or like, but I feel, you know, this way, or like, but you're not listening, or like, you're so difficult to deal with. You know, something I've heard a lot. You know, really listening and allowing them space so that they can start to trust you again. Because the more you push when there's already been a damage, a fracture to the relationship, the further and further away they're going to get. And then you might try to cling on even more. They're going to keep going. So it is inevitable that there will be damage. And I do think it's more prudent in the long term to think about the bigger picture of the relationship. And you may even lose what many people consider to be the biggest battle of all, right? Which is when they get testosterone, when they get a prescription for hormones, when they get surgery, when they become an adult and they do something permanent. The reality is that even that is only a battle in the long-term war. There is life after the surgeries. Obviously, none of us advise, doing it, but, I think a lot of parents are so focused on just preventing that, surgical outcome that they may lose sight of other ways to better the relationship. And, once gender is over, what if they forget about gender? What if you forget about gender? What would that even be like? Are you consuming so much of your life based around that? Is there anything else in your marriage but just talking about the kids' gender problems, for example? And I'm not criticizing anyone, but I feel, think about the long term, and, things come and go.